The fastest way to lose respect is not weakness. It is trying too hard to look strong. You have seen it before. Someone walks into a room speaking louder than everyone else. They interrupt. They over-explain. They talk about their wins before anyone asks. They act like every silence is a threat, every disagreement is a challenge, every small mistake must be defended immediately. And at first, it can look like confidence. But after a few minutes, something changes. People stop leaning in. They stop trusting the energy. They stop taking that person seriously. Not because the person has no value, but because their confidence feels like it is asking for approval. And that is the mistake. The confidence mistake that makes people take you less seriously is believing that confidence means proving yourself. Proving you are smart. Proving you are strong. Proving you are not insecure. Proving you belong. But real confidence does not beg to be noticed. It does not perform for attention. It does not need to keep reminding the room that it exists. Real confidence is quiet because it is not on trial. And most people never learn this. They spend years building a personality designed to protect a wound. They become louder because they once felt ignored. They become defensive because they once felt humiliated. They become arrogant because they once felt small. They chase the image of confidence without healing the insecurity underneath it. And this is where life becomes dangerous. Because the world does not always respond to what you say you are. It responds to what your behavior reveals. You may say you are confident. But if you cannot handle feedback, people see fear. You may say you are secure. But if you constantly need attention, people see emptiness. You may say you do not care what others think. But if every small criticism ruins your mood, people see dependence. This is why confidence is so misunderstood. Most people think confidence is a volume level. They think it means being bold, dominant, unbothered, impressive, charismatic, and impossible to shake. So they copy the outer signals. They speak with more force. They exaggerate their success. They act mysterious. They try to look emotionally untouchable. They force eye contact, force calmness, force authority, force an image. But forced confidence has a smell. People may not always know how to explain it, but they can feel it. It feels tense. It feels heavy. It feels like a performance that cannot afford to break. And when people sense that your confidence depends on their reaction, they instinctively stop trusting it. Because deep down, human beings are always reading for one thing. Stability. Not perfection. Not dominance. Not charm. Stability. Can this person stay grounded when things get uncomfortable? Can they listen without collapsing? Can they admit what they do not know? Can they be disagreed with without turning it into war? Can they be overlooked without begging for attention? Can they be challenged without becoming cruel? That is what people respect. Not the loudest person in the room. Not the person who always has a comeback. Not the person who acts like nothing hurts them. The person people take seriously is the one who does not need every moment to prove their worth. Think about someone who constantly says, "I'm not insecure." Strange, isn't it? The more they say it, the less believable it becomes. Because secure people rarely need to announce security. Now think about someone who listens calmly when corrected. They do not shrink. They do not attack. They do not make excuses for 10 minutes. They pause. They think. They say, "That is a fair point," or "I see what you mean," or "I need to look at that differently." That moment may look small. But it creates respect. Because it shows their identity is strong enough to survive correction. That is real confidence. The ability to stay yourself without needing to win every emotional moment. And here is the hidden psychological reason people make the opposite mistake. Many people are not actually trying to be confident. They are trying to escape shame. There is a difference. Confidence says, I can handle this. Shame says, I must not be exposed. Confidence lets you move through the world with openness. Shame makes you manage every impression. It makes you rehearse your personality. It makes you speak when silence would be stronger. It makes you defend yourself when listening would earn more respect. It makes you brag when humility would make people curious. It makes you dominate conversations because being ordinary feels unbearable. And the tragic part is this. The more you try to escape looking insecure, the more insecurity leaks out. It leaks through your tone. Through your impatience. Through your need to correct everyone. Through the way you turn every story back to yourself. Through the way you cannot laugh at your own mistakes. Through the way you need the last word, even when the conversation is already over. And people notice. Maybe not consciously. But they feel the pressure around you. They feel that your confidence demands something from them. It demands admiration. It demands agreement. It demands validation. It demands that they treat your image carefully. And eventually, people get tired. They may still smile. They may still nod. They may still say, yeah, that's impressive. But inside, they stop respecting you. Because respect is not built by pressure. It is built by trust. And trust grows around people who do not make others responsible for their self-worth. Look at real life. You are in a group conversation, and someone tells a story about their achievement. Before the story can breathe, another person jumps in with something bigger. Oh, I did that too. Oh, that is nothing. Oh, when I was working on this huge project. They may think they are showing confidence. But what everyone hears is hunger. Hunger to be seen. Hunger to be ranked higher. Hunger to not feel behind. Or imagine someone at work who cannot admit a mistake. A small error happens. Nothing major. But instead of owning it, they explain, defend, blame timing, blame unclear instructions, blame someone else, blame the system. By the end of the conversation, the mistake is no longer the problem. The character is. Because people can forgive a mistake. They struggle to respect someone who cannot face one. Or think about dating. Someone tries to look confident by acting emotionally unavailable. They reply late on purpose. They pretend not to care. They use coldness as a strategy. But maturity can feel the difference between self-control and emotional avoidance. A person who is truly confident can show interest without feeling weak. They can be kind without feeling desperate. They can be honest without needing to manipulate the other person's response. Because real confidence is not the absence of vulnerability. It is the ability to be vulnerable without abandoning yourself. That is why overconfidence often fails. Because overconfidence is usually not too much confidence. It is confidence with fear underneath it. Fear of being average. Fear of being rejected. Fear of being laughed at. Fear that if people see the real you, they will decide you are not enough. So you build armor. You become the funny one. The smart one. The mysterious one. The rich one. The tough one. The person who never loses. The person who never needs anyone. But armor has a cost. It protects you from pain. And it also blocks connection. People may admire the mask. But they cannot trust the person hiding behind it. And after a while, even you start to forget where the performance ends and where you begin. This is why the solution is not to become quieter in a fake way. It is not to pretend you are humble. It is not to act calm while boiling inside. That is just another performance. The real shift is deeper. You have to stop treating every social moment like a courtroom where your worth is being judged. Because that is what insecure confidence does. It walks into every room asking, do they respect me? Do they think I am impressive? Do they see my value? Am I being ignored? Am I winning?
And when your mind is obsessed with being seen, you stop seeing clearly. You miss the conversation.
You miss the person in front of you. You miss the chance to learn.
You miss the quiet power of not needing to control the room.
A better question is not, how do I prove I am confident? A better question is, how would I behave if I already respected myself? That question changes everything. If you already respected yourself, you would not need to exaggerate. You would tell the truth cleanly. If you already respected yourself, you would not chase every argument. You would know some battles only feed the ego. If you already respected yourself, you would not collapse when someone disagreed. You would stay curious. If you already respected yourself, you would not need to be the center of attention. You would be present enough to notice others. If you already respected yourself, you could say, I was wrong, without feeling destroyed. Because your worth would not depend on being flawless. This is the first practical step. Practice being accurate instead of impressive. Do not make your stories bigger than they are. Do not pretend to know what you do not know. Do not decorate your life to earn a reaction. Speak plainly. When you know something, say it. When you do not, admit it. This sounds simple, but it is rare. And rare things become powerful. The second step is to slow down your need to respond. Not every comment needs a defense. Not every silence needs filling. Not every joke needs a better joke. Not every opinion needs your correction. Before you speak, ask yourself, am I adding value, or am I asking for validation? That one question can save your dignity. The third step is to build private confidence. Public confidence is fragile when your private life is chaotic. If you break promises to yourself every day, you will secretly feel fake around others. You will need their approval to cover the fact that you do not trust yourself. But when you start doing what you said you would do, even in small ways, your energy changes. You wake up when you said you would. You finish what you started. You train when you do not feel like it. You stop feeding every dopamine craving. You choose discipline when comfort begs for control. Slowly, you stop needing to act confident. Because you have evidence. Not loud evidence. Private evidence. And private evidence is what gives a person quiet strength. The fourth step is to become less addicted to reaction. This is hard. Because modern life trains you to perform. Likes. Views. Replies. Attention. Praise. Instant feedback. The nervous system gets used to asking, did they approve? But if your identity becomes dependent on reaction, you become easy to control. A compliment lifts you. A criticism breaks you. Being ignored makes you angry. Being praised makes you hungry for more. That is not confidence. That is emotional dependence dressed as ambition. So practice doing things without immediate applause. Read without posting about it. Train without announcing it. Improve without needing witnesses. Help someone without turning it into a story. Let some victories stay private. There is a kind of power that grows when nobody is clapping. The fifth step is to learn emotional steadiness. This does not mean becoming cold. It means becoming less easily hijacked. When someone criticizes you, breathe before reacting. When someone disrespects you, do not rush to prove your value. When someone overlooks you, do not immediately perform for attention. Watch your first impulse. That first impulse often reveals the wound. The need to attack. The need to explain. The need to impress. The need to disappear. Do not hate the impulse. Study it. That is where self-awareness begins. And self-awareness is the beginning of real confidence. Because the person who understands their own patterns is no longer fully controlled by them. Here is the deeper truth. Confidence is not believing everyone will like you. Confidence is accepting that some people will not, and you will still remain whole. Confidence is not being certain you will never fail.
It is knowing failure will not erase you.
Confidence is not being above insecurity. It is being honest enough to face insecurity without letting it drive. The people who are taken seriously are not always the most talented. They are not always the loudest. They are not always the most charming.
They are the ones whose energy says, I do not need to manipulate this moment to feel okay.
That kind of person feels safe.
And safety creates respect.
Because when you are not constantly defending your ego, people can relax around you. They can trust your words. They can believe your praise. They can accept your feedback.
They can disagree without fearing an explosion.
They can get close without feeling used for validation. This is what makes someone powerful in a quiet way. Not intimidation. Not perfection. Not performance. Presence. The confidence mistake is trying to look unshakable. The real goal is to become honest enough that you no longer need to shake so easily. You do not become respected by convincing everyone you are important. You become respected by living in a way that proves you do not need to convince them. So the next time you feel the urge to prove yourself, pause. Ask what you are protecting. Ask what you are afraid they might see. Ask whether the move you are about to make is coming from self-respect or insecurity. Because the moment you stop performing confidence, you create space for the real thing to grow. And real confidence does not enter the room begging to be believed. It enters quietly. It listens. It chooses its words. It stands by its values. It can be kind. It can be firm. It can be wrong. It can be unseen. And still, it remains. That is the kind of confidence people remember. Not because it demanded attention, but because it did not need to. And maybe the most serious change you can make is this. Stop trying to look like someone who cannot be wounded. Become someone who can face the wound without letting it control your life. That is where respect begins. That is where strength becomes real. And that is where people finally stop seeing a performance and start seeing you. If this helped you see yourself differently, subscribe for more deep psychology and self-improvement lessons.